Hi design thinkers, my name is Matthew Sear and today we're jumping into Figma and we're going to break Figma's variable typography. We're going to be applying, of course, our typography variables to our text. Then we're going to be putting them into a component and we're going to then control them with the component plus our typography variables. And then finally, we are going to break it by adding in our styles onto our text and then incorporating a different type of branding with our typography so we can change the typography family. So if you'd like to know how to work with various different parts with our typography throughout our design system, then you're in the right place. Sit back, relax, and let's see what we can do. All right, here we are inside of Figma. I have this project. You can download the project from the description box below, but it's okay. You'll be able to follow along with or without the project. We are going to be doing some fun tips and tricks with variable typography, but also with everything else. So let's zoom in here. We're going to take something like a button, and we're going to be able to dynamically change the weight of this button. And then we're going to be setting up the ability for our text to also push the label within the button from left to right or center. So let's create this now. I can drag out this text. Now at the moment you can see that text is centered and we have a 16 at the top here. So we can apply a couple of these simple variables. So if you haven't applied variables to text, that's okay. You'll learn a little bit along the way. Feel free to download the project because we already have a bunch of variables set up. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to apply variable to my actual piece here. I'm going to use Poppins and I'm going to apply a weight. Also go to my variable set. I can actually grab my actual weight. So I will go to that regular. So now I have a regular applied. I have my Poppins applied. Happy days. Let's grab my size here. Now I already have a size font scale and I will apply my medium, but we can't change the alignment within this right here, which is very annoying. What I can do is I can actually create a component. We're going to set this up with variables. So I'm just going to call this the button text. So in button text, what I'm going to do though is I need to create a property. I do a variant and I'm going to actually make the 3 properties right here. For the time being, I'm going to show that white in the background and I'm just going to switch this out with some purple just so I can see the text. Then I'm going to select this text here. I'm going to center that one and then I'll duplicate it again and I will actually add the text so it will be on the other side. Now I have these 3 properties. And what I can do is I can actually click my component. I'm going to say this is the text alignment. There we go. And I can say this one can be my left. This one can be my center. And this one can be my right. Now what I can do is I can actually go up to my local collections. I can actually create a actual set. So what I'll do is I'm going to go to create a new collection. And this new collection is going to manage my button text, for example. I will add a string variable because I'm going to use the string as a name to define the properties. So I can say text alignment. What I need is one to say left, one to say center, and one to say right. And this will be obviously left. You guessed it. This will be center. And this one will be right. Now I have this alignment collection property set up. I can call this text alignment and I can copy that because I'm going to create a group and I'm going to duplicate this as well. I'm going to call it text alignment. But the difference with this one is this one's going to be my text alignment for left and right, but I also want text alignment for as well where it's positioned. So if we select our text here, we can see that we can do our top and middle and our bottom. But this would be text height alignment. There we go. And I can say this is going to be top. That'll be center, bottom. We'll leave this as is. And now we have this alignment group, which is fantastic, controls those true states. You know what we can do now is that we have this component, and if we were to duplicate this component, we can now add in that variable, which was the text alignment property. We can add one of the properties. This one will be my left property. But it doesn't really matter what property you add, because if I was to go to modes, I can go to the text alignment mode, and now I can dynamically change the alignment of my text, because I'm using both the component and I'm also using the text. If I was to look at what my text is, I got my text variable applied here. In my variable collections, I have my typography here. I am actually using a scale of actual text variables that pull from my scale table, which also supports mobile, tablet, and desktop. So now I have this button text that doesn't just change the left, center, and right alignments, but I can also go to my layering, go to my scaling, and I can change it to, for example, a desktop size. What I can do is I select this text here, and I want to make sure that the text is going to be hugged and that the container that it's in actually basically holds that text. So I'm going to remove the white background first and have to individually click auto layout. There we go. Now we're not obviously going to be able to see the text now change because it hugs from left to right as well. It will only happen when you drag it out like this. And that's why we didn't chuck it in the auto layout to start with. So we can actually see the text be able to be dynamically changed. The text itself will fill the container. So now if I drag the container out, the text will fill the container, and the container will let this be set to one of the alignments. So now we have this text. The text is doing that, and it can also adjust both here and between mobile, tablet, and desktop. But we want to do a little bit more. If you remember, the text not just changing size, but it's also changing weight. Let's get our text to change weight. We're going to use numbers for a weight. You can use type if you want to assign a label. I will take it from a 400 to a medium, which would be the 500. So I'm going to call this one button weight. There we go. Now I'll put this into a group. This group will be here, and we'll call this button. Now, this is not obviously something we'll keep in our design system, but this is definitely how we can have a play with the Figma fonts and our variables. So we have this here, we set that up, and what I need is something to change this. So what I did set up was actually font weights right there, and that's actually a collection. So if I go to weights here, I can actually see that I have some font weights. I set up and tied my font types into regular, medium, as well as semi-bold and bold, which means that with this new text, I can select the text, apply that new weight, which is the button weight. Let's go to button weight and apply it to our text. Let's go to our type, and let's make sure that the type actually has the correct button weight, for example, which is font weight. Now, we don't just have a component variable that can change the alignment, but we have a component variable, and we can of course add that alignment property to the component as well. There we go. Now we have that alignment property, which is on here. Let's say center. And now we also have our actual scaling, let's say desktop. And now we have our actual weight. let's say, bold. And this is how we can actually start to really take advantage of the component modes and layering. So how do we change this though, based on some states that change? We do have our actual components here, so we could, make more variants. So that was an option, or we could have a little bit more fun and jump over, for example, to our actual semantic kind of collection, which we are using for colors. The real fun part here is we don't need to just use it for colors. We could actually use the font, and we could put the font and add in the necessary sizes that the font will become in different states. For example, I will grab this new font size weight that is inside of my main set of my semantics. I'm going to go to my type. I'll select my type, press Q to select all of them. I am going to go grab that collection directly from my semantic collection. They got semantics right there. What we'll do is we're going to go, let's say, back to here. Now, at the moment, the text changed size, so that's great. But what happens in we select our semantic? We select that, and I can go to selected. And now the text has changed to that bold value, which is fantastic. What's just taking place is that if we wanted to, we have this text variable right now here. I could duplicate this component, and I have basically all of this set up. I'm going to set this all back to auto, and I'm just going to grab all of these text blocks. I'm going to go paste it into my component, and I'm just going to make sure that it fills my component, and there we go. Now remember, we're using modes, and the modes will be able to actually dictate, for example, the colors that are taking place in these text components as well. Let's select this, take it back to that main detail. Right here is my main collection, and as you can see, the actual text itself is now bolder because it's selected, but it's irregular when it's not. I can drag my button out, and my button has a couple of cool little values inside. I can actually go here, and I can turn my button into a desktop button. And while I'm at it, I want that text to be aligned to the center. I also wanted to use my actual selected button, and now it's bolded. And that's how we can take advantage of our variables inside of Figma and set them up for success using our components. Right here, I have dynamic sizing through my button. I have my text that dynamically changes its weight with my button, and alignment as well based on the components within inside of it. Let's take this one step further. Let's make an icon. This icon here, just going to be a nice arrow. We will put a frame around it. Let's say it's 24 by 24. Just put some white in the background. We'll just center this icon if we can, removing the padding from it. We definitely want it in an auto layout, that is for sure. And I can grab this icon. Let's make it a little bit more prettier. We'll just give that a little love there. There we go. There is my new awesome arrow icon, and I will flatten that icon. Now I still got the icon line. All right. What I can do is I click on this icon line. I'm going to append a variable to it. I'm going to right click down there, add variable. And I am going to, and inside that collection, you may have noticed under fonts, there was weight. And I put an icon weight, which is a variable weight. This variable weight's a number that I defined inside the actual collection. So here I have icon sizes, and I also have in weights icon weight. And I've defined a set of weight sizes, and those set of weight sizes I defined, I put it inside of scaling. You know why I put it inside of scaling? Because scaling has mobile, tablet, and desktop. Scaling is my padding scaling, but also it's my font scaling, but also it's my actual weight scaling, but also it is as well my actual type scaling. It's a scaling set. Use the same variables across the whole system, makes your life a lot easier. Down here, we have this weight scaling. We're using a couple of actual different units for the weight scaling, but we have weight scaling here. And now I have that on my line, which means that we can dynamically change the line weight. Now that we can dynamically change the line weight, let's also dynamically change the size by now appending actual font size to our icon. I have the Pixellink Variable Toolkit. If you haven't seen it yet, check it out. It's free at the moment under a beta, and we are basically offering it up to the community. Test it out, try it. It basically allows you to apply variables really quickly to your assets. So I'm going to select this, and I'm just going to apply basically a fixed size. There we go, done. What this means is this icon here can actually dynamically change its size. I can change between tablet, and you see how it gets a little bigger as well, the container? That's because it's also incrementing with the values that's underneath it, which is awesome. So I have desktop and mobile. The actual icon inside, we can make sure that that icon will scale with the actual box itself. And an easy way for me to try out those different scaling would be for me to go through like that. All right, I'm gonna get that white. I'm gonna actually select that color, and I'm also going to go back to my semantics, and I'm going to grab the on color within this, and I'm putting one of the on color detail for the line. So if we go down here, we can see our main, we can see it's a main and it's on a neutral, that one. We are looking for a main that's on a color, which is basically to go details or text. I'm going to go to the text, just because it will be very similar. Oh, and I needed to set it to line. There we go. I will create this as a component. Just duplicate that across. I'm going to select all my buttons. I'm going to just paste it in. I can shift and go up a level, do it like so, and there we go. Now I have this inside my button. It's over on that side over there. And what I can do, let's select all my buttons and center the material in it. So this text works like so. Here is my button. I can stretch out my button. This can stay in the center and it will push this off to the side. It means that I can also, for example, actually start to change the size up and down. Now, we need to make sure this is set to auto, and that will allow it to change as well. I can now go to my layers. I can go to that. I've changed the actual color, and the color gets changed. And if I get large, you can see it gets thicker, and it also gets a little larger inside the container itself. We have now set up everything. We've got a button. The button changes its weight based on the different states. The icons change its weight based on the different states. The icon and the text change its size based on the different states and different changes within it. We have so much power and control. We could actually also change it to dark mode, and now we can start to actually change our icon based on the dark mode settings that we have. This is the power of variables. You can set these up and start to build out systems that allow you to dynamically change all of your content. I'll leave you one last thing, which is extra fun, is that we are also going to select our super text, Shift A. We're going to turn this into a text style. We're going to call this super text. And with now our new super text, we'll be able to duplicate this text as much as we want and do different variations of it. We can actually now take advantage of the fact that it is a style that is actually everywhere. So instead of me just using it there, let me, for example, jump down to my input field over here, jump into my text in my input field here and apply super text to the label. That super text comes along with the weight sizing, meaning that if it's in a selected mode, it recognizes that it's in selected mode and it makes the weight of it thicker. It also knows that it has a particular color, so it will change that color based on what it has. And you can also start to set up a different type family style set, which we will do right now. I will zoom right out. I'm going to click this. I'm going to click into my local collections. You'll notice that in my type family here, I have Poppins, Roberto, and Inter, and I'm going to, instead of just using them and having that to apply to set things fixed, I'm going to make it not fixed. I will have a new collection, and my new collection is going to be brand set. Here we can create a new string, and this will be the font family. I can actually grab, I'm not going to type this manually because why would I do that when I already have them? And that's why we do want to still keep those presets because they're like your primitives, and this is using your primitives in fun ways. We're going to call this brand 1, and this can be brand 2, and this one can be brand 3. So now you have 3 brands. I can apply my brand family to my super style, and my super style does super things with the brand family. Now everywhere that this one style is applied, it has all the brand families. So I can actually select, for example, my complete input field here, and I can define the brand set, which will allow me to actually change the text based on the type of brand that I want to actually specify. So let's say we go back to our text here, for example. I have the text style. Just make sure we have our brand family applied, and I can go to layers, brand family, and well, it doesn't seem to be changing. What is? Okay, and as I guess we said, we broke Figma. Brand families would and ideally should work. Let's check our collection, just to make sure that that is set up correctly. So we are grabbing those variables from our family collection. We are putting them into the different brands and different styles. We do have it applied to our actual style component here. Let's have a quick look at our layering, and let's select a different family. Let's grab just a regular text so we can debunk the break that we did. I'm going to add the family. I can see that this will change ideally, so I could select that variable and enter. That did change the text, so we know our family works there, so that's great. Let's go to our collection. Let's group this into a layer. I always find these are really helpful, especially we got brand, and then we can say this is the type. There we go. And let's go to our brand type set here, apply that brand type set, and let's check our layers. and we are definitely able to change it in our layers. So that changes those. That definitely works. So we know that our collection works. So we do know that we have definitely broken Figma with too many layers. For more tips and tricks and trying to break Figma, we managed to achieve it. So until next time, design thinkers, keep thinking, keep building, keep creating amazing things. Share in the comments section below fun, cool things that you find out what to do with variables and how to use variables in fun and funky ways to break Figma. So until next time, keep creating, keep building, and I'll see you all guys in the next video.